I'm your presenter today. My name is Jenny Dempsey. I'm the Customer Success Manager for Phone.com. And I like bear hugs. Before we begin, sorry, there'll be lots of goofy stuff throughout this, so hang in there. Before we begin today, though, take a look at the GoToWebinar questions section. You'll be able to enter questions in there throughout the webinar today. And at the end of the presentation, I will read through them and answer them for you. Our challenge level today's content is suitable for intermediate viewers, but if you're a beginner or advanced, don't worry, you won't be nervous or bored. We'll keep this interesting and something everyone can do. So check it out. I'd like to begin with a very basic number checking process. Has your number been previously used? When you come to phone.com and you search our inventory for a local number, toll-free number, even a global number, there are chances that that phone number has been used before. There are so many numbers out there, but yet, your number may have been used. And it could still exist, even though it's in your account and it belongs to you now, it could still exist on someone's website, in the yellow pages, white pages. It could exist somewhere out there where someone just never updated their documentation. So before you dive into the exclusive club of phone number ownership, make sure to do your research and check your number. This will help you avoid things like getting unwanted calls. Let's say, for example, one of the phone numbers that I personally experienced, I had when I first got my direct line here, it turns out it was a Best Buy customer support phone number at one point in time. And I had a ton of calls about TVs not working. So it used up my minutes. It, took time out of my day to make sure that I helped these people know that I was not going to help them with their TV. And you don't want that. You want to avoid it. So a couple basic starting points. Search it online. Google, any search engine that you like, type the phone number into the search box. All you need is the phone number. See what it pulls up. Is your number showing up associated with the business? Is it showing up somewhere else? Any type of actual phone number, sometimes it'll show in codes, associated with website links and stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. But if it shows up with a business, you know that, oh, this number was used before, it's still on their site, yeah, I can reach out to them and get it removed, but maybe I'll go with a different number. Checking the white pages and the yellow pages is also a helpful tool. You can literally go online to their websites, type in the phone number, reverse search, and it'll tell you what it's associated with. Definitely my first recommendation to avoid spam calls, even from the very start when you first add your number. So now let's get blocking, shall we? So you see that incoming call on your phone and you just don't want to answer. Yep, don't want to answer that call. We have some very basic incoming call blocking settings. We'll get into more details in the next slide here. But first of all phone numbers that we have, whether it be toll-free, local, global, you can block all anonymous incoming calls, so that would be your unknown and your private callers, or you could just block every single incoming call there is. They don't even hit the system. They'll hear like a busy signal instead, so you can make the number be inactive, basically. Our toll-free numbers have additional settings. You can block international calls as well as payphone calls. There are extra fees associated with those, which I'll show you here in just a moment, and that's why you'll want to avoid it. If you do want those calls, you just leave the boxes unchecked. Not a big problem, but just be aware of the fees that we will charge. So I'm going to bounce into our control panel now, and I'm going to show you where to go to make these changes. From the navigation bar, you'll select Configure, and from the drop-down menu, you'll choose Manage Numbers. Oh, and it looks like I have to log in again. Pardon me. You'll log in first, then you'll go to Manage Numbers. All right. So we're on our Manage Numbers page, and again, we got here by clicking Configure and Manage Numbers from the drop-down menu. We'll want to click the Edit button to the right of the number. We'll begin with a local number for now. And when you click the Edit button, you'll be in the Edit Number settings. And on the left-hand side, you'll see the call blocking title, and there are two check boxes, block anonymous calls and block all incoming calls. So you can choose what you want to block here, and then save your changes. So again, local numbers will only have those two options available for the all calls. Toll-free numbers, if you click the edit button to the right of your toll-free, will have additional options. Blocking offshore calls. So this is the international surcharge calls. So if someone is in Canada and they dial to your US-based toll-free number, you will encounter this surcharge. The same thing happens with calls from payphones. So you can choose to block those calls so you can avoid those charges at all. Or if you want them to come through, leave it unchecked and just be aware of the surcharge call fees there. You can always click the little green question mark icon to take you back to information on what exactly it means. So we're going to block offshore calls and from payphones and anonymous for our toll-free number. Remember that if you click block all incoming calls, it will do exactly that. Block every single call. You won't get any calls and you'll feel really lonely, unless that's what you want. So with our international numbers, you just click to the right, that edit button again, you'll see those two options available for anonymous calls and blocking all incoming calls. Any changes that you make, just click the Save Changes button and you are good to go. So we also have the ability to caller ID call blocking. You can actually stop fearing the next call. You don't want to talk to them, you don't have to. You can block incoming calls by the full telephone number, and you can block incoming calls by the area code. Let me show you how to do this. Within the control panel, you'll want to go to the extension section. So you'll click Configure from the navigation bar and then Manage Users and Extensions. Then you'll want to click the Edit button to the right of your extension. Now, changes that we're about to make to the call blocking will happen account-wide. So over here on this left-hand side navigation bar begins with Inbox, Address Book, and Call Blocking is the third one down on the list. Go ahead and give that a click. And this is where you'll be able to enter the full number, the area code, and you can also block recent calls. So you'll see here, if we click the Add a Number to Block, and we're going to enter our number, full number, and we're just going to put a note. This kind of helps you identify it. It's just held in the account. Fraud, or maybe like telemarketer. We'll do that. Fraud telemarketer. Don't want them to call. You're going to click the Add button, the green plus sign there, and that will add the number to your list. So when that caller with this caller ID dials to you, they will not be able to get through, and you will not be using your phone.com minutes. So literally, that person is just going to hit a wall. They're just going to go right into it, not going to get through. You're not going to use your minutes. If you want to just block with an area code, click the Add a Number to Block, click Starts With, and you can block the area code there. Or if you want to, if you know the prefix, enter it there as well. And this could be spam calls. Then just click the plus sign, the Add button, and that will add it on there. If you ever want to remove this, let's say you made peace with this person and yeah, they can call you now, you'll want to just come back to this section and click the delete icon, and it will remove it from your spam callers list. Keep in mind that if you click Add a Number to Block and you accidentally check it and it just says +1, every single call that comes in will be blocked. So just keep that in mind. If you accidentally do this and you test out your number and you're like, no one can get through, what's going on? Come check the call blocking. If you just have +1 blocked, everyone will be blocked. So definitely do not do that. But if you do, it's okay. Just come here, click the trash can icon. Under the recent calls section, you will see the most recent calls to this extension. And you can actually click the block icon if you really don't want that person to call in, and it will add it to the list. There's one more way that I can show you that you will be able to block calls. If you go to the call log section of the account, you'll click Call Info, View Search Call Logs from the dropdown. And when the call logs load, I will show you how to go about blocking that caller. So let's say the call came in, you're not, at the time, but you don't really remember their caller ID, but you do know that they called around 10:42 p.m. on July 11th. So you look through your call logs, look through that, and you're like, oh, well, I don't want to talk to them again. Over here on this left-hand side, you'll see the red circle with the line through it and the green plus sign again. If you click on that, it will actually block the entire number and they will not call in. So that definitely makes it very helpful. And again, that was from Call Info, View Search Call Logs. So again, there's two different ways to block. Configure, manage users and extensions. Clicking the Edit button to the right of your extension. It doesn't matter which one you do it on because it will be held account-wide. And then you click Call Blocking from the side navigation bar. And you'll be able to make your changes here, add numbers to block, or remove. Or go to Call Info, View Search Call Logs to block as well. And if you're on the call, if it's an incoming call to you, you actually have the option to dial *9 to block the call manually. So if you're out and about, you're not near the control panel. You get an incoming call through the phone.com system. Let's say you're on your cell phone, for example. Comes through your phone.com toll-free number, rings to your cell phone. You don't want to talk to them. Hit *9 during that call, and it will block that number. So we just blocked incoming calls by the full number as well as by the area code. Next, we want to kick robocallers to the curb. So robocallers, this is a fun one. This is a really challenging one, to be quite honest. So robocallers, there's a lot of automated marketing systems out there that will somehow get your phone number from a list. Maybe you signed up for a contest at one point in time, and your number's on this list and it gets sold and whatever, blah, blah, added to something, and you randomly get all these calls to your number and there's really no one there. It's just these blank calls, but they sit, if you have a menu system, it's going to go through the entire menu queue. It's going to sit and sit and sit and use your minutes. And you may get a lot of these throughout the day. Like, this is just one of those things. If your number is out there on some list, it's going to happen. So the way to do this is if you are using a menu system, and if a robocalling system or automated spam call reaches you, you can actually set your menu to disconnect the calls using the no input option to avoid this. So the way to do this is, go back to the control panel here. On the menu section, you go to Configure and Manage Menus. You'll want to click the Edit button to the right of your menu. One thing to keep in mind, though, when you do set this option to disconnect, it will use your phone.com minutes, but only 1 minute. It'll just use the 1 minute as far as the disconnect goes. If your menu greeting is really long, it may use a couple more minutes. So just keep that in mind if that happens. So you'll come to your menu system and you'll scroll down to the bottom of your menu. And again, we went to Configure and Manage Menus and then Edit Menu. On the caller selection option on the left here, you'll see no input as the last option. You'll want to click the Edit button to the right of that to open up the call handling rules for the no input option. You'll leave it as all calls for the incoming call type, and under Select Operation, you'll choose Disconnect. Then you'll save your rule settings. So what happens now is the call will come in, they'll hear your menu greeting, and then if they don't press any option on the keypad, it will eventually just disconnect. So this will save you time. If you didn't have this, and let's say one of those spam callers come in, you could use upwards of 5-6 minutes depending on how long your greeting is, how many options you have, and so on. So this really does help you break it down, make it short and sweet. Callers call in, they either hit a menu, if they don't, they're out. Saves you minutes. And you can go ahead and click the Save Changes after you make your change at that point. Another thing you can do is configure and manage numbers. you can just set your main number to disconnect. So let's say, you have the option to block all calls. But if you want them to hear a recording real quick when they call in and then just disconnect, you can do that as well. It doesn't have to go through a menu system. And I'll show you how to do that here in just a moment when our numbers page loads. Again, we went to configure and manage numbers. All right, we're processing. Fantastic. All the spam calling. Whew, let's getting this down. All right. So what we'll want to do is click the edit button to the right of our number, and we'll be right back in the edit number section, and we'll click edit, lots of edits here, to the right of number action. So I'm going to set the call. Right now it's set to forward to my direct line, and then it's going to go to voicemail. But let's not have it go to voicemail. Let's just have it disconnect. So the calls would come in, ring to me, and if there's no answer, that's it. They're going to disconnect. Or you can choose to play the recording. You can choose a quick voice message and then disconnect. So your callers just dial in, hear what they need to hear, and the call is dropped. Easy as that. The great thing about disconnect, it does help as well. For example, if you are just playing a recording and you want the call to disconnect after, if the other party doesn't hang up the phone right, the call would still be connected. So the disconnect does help force change that. And make sure that any call handling rule modifications that you make, that you do always save them. So we just set robocallers to the curb using the disconnect option. Now we ended this a little bit early today. What I'm going to do before we bounce to the final screen here, I'm going to go right back to the control panel because there is one more way that we can really customize this. And we do have the ability to add contacts to an address book or group. And if you have contacts in a group, we have caller ID based routing. And you can actually make it so that when people dial you from contact numbers that you have stored in your address book, it will route to you directly. And if anyone else from outside of those numbers call, it can literally just go to the disconnect option or to somewhere else. So this would be great if you know that only clients have this number, you have all your clients in the address book, you only want clients calling, everyone else can just go to the curb. And the way to do this would be to configure and manage users and extensions. When we're there, we're going to go to the address book. And if you feel a little overwhelmed or if I'm going too quickly, don't worry. It's okay. We do have webinars on ways to set up a menu, and we also have how to set up your address book. So we'll be able to help you out with that, and our support is here 24/7 if you ever need any assistance with setting up your account. So don't feel too overwhelmed. Help is on the way. So we'll want to add a contact first thing first. So I'm going to add my dog. I know that's silly, but he's going to be on my contact list. So when he calls me from his mobile, because what dog doesn't have a mobile these days, it's going to go straight to me. And everyone else, it's going to go to the curb. So we've created our contact in the address book. By the way, Misa is the cutest little Pekingese you've ever seen. And then you'll want to go to configure, and we're going to go to manage numbers, because this is where we're actually going to set the call handling rules to do the caller ID based routing. We're going to click the edit button to the right of our number, and then edit one more time to the right of number action. The select incoming call type is very important in this section. We're going to choose received from, and then we're going to choose MISO. Now, when MISO calls me, I want it to forward to my direct number, because it's probably he's very demanding, he likes a lot of treats, and so that's probably what the call's about. And then if there's no answer, he can leave me a voicemail. So that's going to be how you would set up the caller ID based routing when he calls you. Next, you have to set up what happens when everyone else outside of MISO calls. So you'll want to choose Add New Rule at the bottom right of the box. And this one is going to be left as all calls. So it's the catch-all. It's everything else outside of calls from MISO. And from the drop-down for select operation, we're going to go disconnect. Or, we can make it funny. Let's do some play hold music. I'm going to put on some soft rock and then disconnect. So they'll hear some nice little tunes for a little bit and then poop, dropped. Sorry if that seems harsh. You can customize this however you want, which is the greatest thing about it. So make it fun. Make your callers have some fun while they're waiting for you, or not, or getting dropped. And then save your rule settings when you're ready. So again, what we just did was we set up caller ID based routing. So if you know the people that have that number, it's an exclusive number, only certain people have it, add their caller IDs to your address book. Create a group for those people and set any call from them to go to where it needs to go. And anywhere else outside of that will go to the disconnect, or you can send it to someone else. Maybe you know someone who isn't on your good list right now. You can send all the calls to them. However you want to do it, you can do it, and it helps to prevent unwanted calls and using minutes that you would prefer to use for important things. So thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to join our webinar. If you need any further assistance, we have our 24/7 phone support at 800-998-7087. We have our email support@phone.com. You can chat with us online at phone.com. You can tweet at us at phonecomsupport. We'd love to see you there, as well as on Facebook. You can say hi on there.